I'm Rob,
I'm John,
and this is the Min1 podcast.
where we talk all things Web3 and the rise of blockchain gaming.
So, John, there's been queues around the block for something called WorldCoin.
The has, it's scanning your eyes and giving you crypto. Let's dive into it.
So, before we get started, I need to shill to you, and this is my method of shilling. Please follow us in every way you can possibly follow us. Comment, subscribe, like. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on... What are we on? We're on everything. So just follow us any way you can. It helps get our metrics up, which means we get pushed to more people. And the more people that see us, the more people that come on the show, and the better the episodes. So yeah, just do it. It really is no loss to you, is it? If anything, you not doing it is selfish. Right, so...
What a start.
Let's get on with... And in this episode, I'm pretty pumped for, because I sort of knew about WorldCoin for a while, and then I started reading articles about it recently as we were getting towards the launch, and now it's launched, and obviously the media has collectively shit itself in rage and confusion, and I've gone pretty deep down the rabbit hole, and it is such an interesting concept, such an interesting idea. It's extremely divisive. What do you know so far? What of your gut? I know you haven't gone down the rabbit hole yet, which excites me, because the dynamic of this episode will be me dragging you into the rabbit hole, which is just always fun for everyone.
Yeah, so WorldCoin, what do I know about it? Well, as I said in the intro, TLDR, it scans your eyes and it gives you cryptocurrency. I know that this was founded by the CEO of OpenAI, right? So,
yep.
I mean, it's already someone who's very much at the front of this kind of new technological frontier we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of destinations worldwide. I have seen videos on Twitter of people queuing up for freaking ages to get their eyes scanned by this weird orb-looking machine thing and getting cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
You're closer to the nearest one than I am. There's two in London.
Yes,
so,
one Shoreditch and one somewhere else in London. Appointment only.
Oh, wow.
So the queues were so big.
So I take it you haven't got your world ID yet.
I do, but I'm not verified.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to. So I didn't think I'd do it, because it is obviously. Let's just point at the dystopian elephant in the room. This feels dystopian. It feels like a Black Mirror episode. I would say that there are elements of that, and I can see people's knee-jerk reaction to this is completely understandable. I think I had the same reaction. But the more you look into it, the more things start to make sense. And I think that is going to be the narrative I spin to you today, is there's a lot of things that... There's things I'm not sure about still, but the underlying reason, the driving force for this is pretty undeniable. So I want to start with a criticism of it, though. Firstly, WorldCoin is the worst name you could have possibly picked, in my opinion. It is, firstly, for anyone with a background in crypto, it's so close to OneCoin that it's as idealistic as a name as OneCoin, which, if you don't know what OneCoin was, it was an Excel spreadsheet that pretended to be a cryptocurrency. And it made billions, and Ruja Ignatova disappeared into the wind with all the money, has never been found. Her brother got arrested. It's a whole thing. There's podcasts on it. Listen to it. It's crazy. People call it crypto. It just used the word crypto. It was an Excel spreadsheet. So it was a genuine database. It wasn't decentralized in any way. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, it sounds very close to that, which I don't like. And also, and I don't know why, I can't explain this one, but the orb, which is the thing that scans your eye, is the most dystopian name I've ever heard. Yeah. Like, the orb. Go find your local orb.
It is very Orwellian.
It's creepy, isn't it? There's something about the word orb is really creepy. So I heard someone describe the marketing efforts of WorldCoin as an uphill battle, and I think
that's an understatement.
Pretty much fair. Yeah. So shall I give like an overview of what the purpose of what WorldCoin is?
Go for it.
So there is a cryptocurrency, but that really isn't the point, or at least that's not the USP of the whole project. So it started it's co-founded by Sam Altman, who also started OpenAI, which created ChatGPT. So this guy, it's fair to say, is pretty influential in tech already. Now, the reason this was created is identity. Proof, as he puts it, I think he puts it as proof of humanism.
Yes.
You have to prove you're human, which sounds ridiculous. Like, why do I have to prove I'm human? But with AI marching forward at a rate of knots and claiming jobs left and right, like the sort of working Grim Reaper, we have to have a way of separating ourselves from AI. It's already the case that there are... I saw a case study recently, this week, of a guy who has multiple, like 50 different blogs on different niche topics.
Okay.
And he has AI write daily content, more than one article a day for each blog, and he has Google ads on all of them, and he makes a full-time wage, right? So for people like me who, most of my job is writing content, that is scary. And it's far from writers, product photography, dead, absolutely dead. AI is taking it. Stock photography, almost dead, if not dead. Copywriting, sales, ad management, coding, they reckon's dead in 5 years, as we said in the previous episode. John's just taking a swig out of his barrel of water.
I'm not called hydropowered for nothing.
No, anyway, you are powered by water. So we have this problem with AI taking over lots of things, but there are plenty of times where we want humans, and that's just the surface level. There's also times we need to know that it's a human, not AI. So we've reached this problem. It's hard to believe we're here already, but we are, where we need to be able to prove we are human. And that was the prompt for this. So if you take away crypto and the coin and the token and stuff, the thing I think is most interesting here is World ID, which is what the main product of this is. So I'm going to continue my monologue by giving you the workflow of how it looks to actually get your ID, right?
Sure.
I've done most of this, but I haven't got to Shoreditch to scan my eyeball yet. So you download the World app, and then you have to find your local orb. It's very difficult to sell that part. Very difficult to sell. At this point, you will generate 2 key pairs. One of them is your public identity key. This is all crypto stuff.
Right.
You don't really need to focus on it too much if you're not that interested in that side of things. Once you get to the orb, it does scan your iris. So it will scan your eye, and it does that in a number of different ways. It does it with different wavelengths, different infrareds. It's one of the most, they don't know if it's the most advanced iris scanning technology there is, because they don't know about the military and stuff, but it's up there. It's very, very impressive. The point of this is that if you look up interviews with them, you'll keep hearing the word entropy. They were originally going to have you scan your palm or fingerprints or, any of the other identifiers, but basically they don't have enough entropy, which means essentially they don't have enough uniqueness to them. So facial scan technology can be tricked by very, very similar faces. So that's not good enough to do. So you have to, the iris, and scanned at this level, the eye is perfect. Like it really is unique across all nearly 8 billion people. So it scans your eye, and then it sends the signed, I don't know if it's a smart contract, but it sends confirmation that you are human to the back end, which pairs with your key. And now you have your ID in the app. And this ID can be used for all sorts of things, including KYC. And the important thing to know here, and these are the 2 important things that people keep missing, and so I really want to drill these home. 1, it's zero knowledge. So if someone says, I want to know you're human, please prove it, and you use your world identity, World ID, it just says this is person verified, and it goes yes or no. It doesn't say who is this, it doesn't say can I have the biometrics or anything, it just says yes or no, zero knowledge. So that's really important. The second really important thing, and I haven't seen a single article mention this that is laying into World ID for being dystopian. World ID doesn't ever ask for your name, your date of birth, your address, or any details about It has nothing on you other than the iris scan. That's it. So the aim is obviously to have every single person on Earth have this iris scan to prove they're human. I've been speaking for like 10 minutes, so now please give me what are your thoughts? What are your initial thoughts?
I have so many things in my mind after that. So, first and foremost, where people think this is a dystopian initiative, I'm finding it very difficult to shake that that's not the case. The fact that they're proposing a way to prove that you are human and that one private company will have the ability to authorize that you are human is quite dystopian.
So can I just back you up? I can add evidence to that point.
Sure.
This is one of my criticisms. So when they verify that you're human with the orb and it signs that transaction and sends it, that goes to the back end, which is going to be decentralized. It's not decentralized right now. So that's the really scary bit that plays into what you're saying. Sorry, continue.
There's obviously a lot of value in that data, even if it is without names and addresses and ages and all of the fact that you've developed a system of sorts that can prove that someone is human. And I mean, if that's the way you're going to sell it, as our WorldCoin system proves that you're human. I mean, there's fingerprint proof that you're human, and other things that scan irises do already do that. But I mean, I understand the general premise of what they're doing here. Okay, a few things on top of that. If you go to the WorldCoin website, worldcoin.org, they have kind of a brief statement on why they're doing this, etc., etc. And to me, the language they're using to promote it sounds a lot. It just sounds too close to the whole, hey, buy this meme coin, it'll go up 100x. Like I will read out quote for quote the first paragraph. So most important bit. If successful, we believe WorldCoin could drastically increase economic opportunity. aka you could make a shitload of money. Scale a reliable solution for distinguishing humans from AI online. Okay, fair enough. Whilst preserving privacy, enable global democratic processes, and eventually show a potential path to AI-funded UBI. I would love for them to expand on how they think WorldCoin could contribute to universal basic income funded by AI. But as you see, that first paragraph is pretty much all about, oh, hey, you can earn through various methods, or if you get involved in WorldCoin, there might be a financial benefit to you.
So I think I should defend them here.
Right.
I think it could be sloppy wording. I am skeptical enough to believe it's probably a bit of both, that they do want that. But part of the purpose of this essentially is that current KYC for things like, right, I don't know how many steps I have to go back here to make this make sense. But
sure.
We talk about crypto being borderless currencies, right? So people, and it's been great with countries that have corrupt governments or the banks can't be trusted. People have been using crypto, right? But the problem is a lot of the major exchanges want KYC of some form. Now, I haven't verified this stat. I did Google it just to check that it wasn't completely wild. But one of the founders of, I don't think it was Sam, I think it was one of the, I think it was the CEO, said 50% of the world doesn't have the necessary documents for KYC, which I think is that's probably true. That doesn't sound a ridiculous number. I don't know for sure that that's accurate, but it's certainly feasible. If you think of how many people perhaps in Africa won't have, passports or driver's licenses or, perhaps even birth certificates. So it's not unthinkable. One of the reasons this would be powerful is most people have access to a mobile phone now. That is one of those common things, which is a real benefit to crypto. That was one of the reasons crypto took off. And this could be a way around that, where it's unambiguous KYC for people that can't otherwise do KYC, and it enables a more global economy. That is the line they push. Whether you accept that or you think they're trying to make money off it. They do say on the site, I sound like I'm shilling them. They do say on the site that they don't know if there'll be any value to the token itself. But it already has value. And They do list the dollar value. So I've got the app, right? I'll open it now. And when I signed up, it said, so every week, anyone who's verified gets issued the token, WorldCoin token. So you can pre-claim it.
Okay.
There's not infinite amounts of this, but you could, if you're listening to this, you can probably still do it, where you can create an account and claim it before you've scanned your eye. You don't type your name, you don't create a wallet, you don't connect anything. I haven't given it anything. It's seen my physical location because I wanted to know where the local orb was, which is Shoreditch. When I claimed it, so I claimed 25 WorldCoin, and it showed me a dollar value of $54. And it shows it bigger than the amount of WorldCoin I have. So I'm inclined to agree that it is something they're trying to perhaps push. But to give them, I'm just trying to give them a bit of the benefit of the doubt, because I think they've come under a lot of unfair criticism from people that haven't researched what it does. The more, I don't know if this will be true of everyone. I don't know if this will be true with you as well. But the more I look into the tech, the more I look into what they're doing, the more reasonable it sounds to me. But I am with you. I'm with you on, they've got to tread very, very carefully, because they're trying to make it sound like this noble movement.
Yeah, and there's I think you're perfectly founded to be naturally skeptical towards these sorts of things that claim to be able to change the world. I'll quickly touch on the second paragraph, where it says, quote, where laws allow, you'll receive a digital currency simply for being human. So it's, if you're a human, free money, which is, again, I'm like...
Yeah. I don't know about integrating your own UBI yet. There's probably an economist that can weigh in on that.
Yeah. But now let's move on to some other points I had. I agree with you on the name, WorldCoin. To me, WorldCom came straight to mind, which was the massive accounting scandal in 2000. Where
I don't remember that.
Some company like $11 billion of money they didn't have on their books, and then
so
that sprung to mind, which isn't great.
Yeah,
you also touched on AI articles and AI kind of taking over. Have you heard about Glorbo?
Glorbo.
Glorbo. Oh, this is a great one. So some people on Reddit discovered that in this particular subreddit, it was a World of Warcraft one, that AI was scraping the subreddit for articles on various websites. So they thought, why don't we come up with something completely fake and have everyone in the thread just type fake replies and then just see if an AI site picks it up? And one of them did.
Really?
They're like, new feature coming to World of Warcraft, Glorbo. And then it had taken quotes from Redditors, and they were saying, it's got this feature and it's got this, and they're like, oh my lord, it actually fell for it. And then a group of gamers did the same thing for the Destiny community and managed to fool even more websites into saying there's this new boss called Glorbo coming. So it's the newest meme in the gaming community, where Glorbo is now in everything, and they've got all these AI websites talking about it's ridiculous. So
the problem is, when something like that happens, is the AI will create the article, but then the journalists looking for content will create articles based on the AI article they found.
Yeah.
It's like a wildfire.
Yeah. And funny enough, that brings me on to my next point. The fact that Sam Altman is the one behind WorldCoin is slightly amusing, in that he's offering a solution to a problem he's created. It's like, AI is such a massive issue.
Sure.
WorldCoin is going to say that issue. It proves that you're human.
It'd be a great book, premise, a novel premise, if Sam Altman only created OpenAI so that he could create the world ID.
Shell his own cryptocurrency project. Hey, I mean, there's some skepticism to be had there. But I mean, on the surface of it, and my extent of knowledge is basically just reading what's on the website, going, finding where my nearest orb is, and then just seeing what I've seen on social media. I can understand both sides of it. I don't currently have a world ID. I've not downloaded the app or whatever. It did release on my birthday 2 days ago, so that's probably part of the reason why. But I think I will do. But I'm still in the skepticism camp. I believe in the technology. I think what they're trying to do is cool, but as with anything that is holding this private data and seems to be promising quite a lot, I'm a bit like, can you really deliver on what you're promising here? And I get there's a whole bunch of barriers and things that, in the ways of them trying to achieve what their ultimate goal is here, and I admire them for trying. But seems strange to me. I mean, it's only 2 days old as of recording this, so there's a lot we don't know. There's a lot of things that I'm sure they have in the works that we have no idea about yet. But
it's even novel. They say it's still very early days. They haven't iterated on it much. I think the problem that they're trying to solve is so new that most people haven't engaged with it yet. Most people haven't reached a point where they either have lost out to AI because AI did something and they couldn't do it quick enough, or they didn't do it well enough, or they didn't do it free enough, or they haven't reached a point where they can't do KYC, or they haven't needed to do KYC. This is very much solving a problem that's only just emerging. So it is hard for people to get behind it, especially when it is patently dystopian to look at. So I've listened to 2 podcasts with the co-founders. I've listened to podcasts discussing it from like economists and crypto experts. I've read everything I can read on it. It does feel like the people behind WorldCoin know how dystopian this feels. They're not deaf to it. They really do understand what's going on. And also, and I shouldn't give them this sort of benefit of the doubt, but there's a lot of credence added to the project by the fact that Sam created ChatGPT for me, because ChatGPT is, one of the most important technological advancements in the past 100 years. Already, and it's barely out of the box. There's a reason you can't move for AI content, conversations about AI. It's that prevalent because it's so powerful. And I find it interesting that he wanted to do this alongside it. You can forgive him for wanting to throw everything into ChatGPT, given how well it's done. But it's funny to hear about how they raised money for this project. Because how do you raise money for something that you need the whole world on board with for it to be effective? That is extremely difficult. And they essentially worked out, I get, it sounds like they did this mathematically, but they might not have. They had to work out almost the critical mass of how many users they'd need initially for it to start spreading. And it was something like 10,000. So they were going out, trying to sign up with an orb, trying to sign up 70 people a day each. And then when they hit 10,000, that's when they did the Series A and they raised loads of money for it. But the development side of this project is unambiguously impressive. Again, it's not something I've seen covered much, but everything's made from scratch, including the lens. Like, the whole thing has been engineered beautifully and is cutting edge technology, which perhaps makes it more dystopian, I guess. But it's impressive. It's an impressive project either way. I get the knee-jerk reaction. I don't think I could explain this to, like, for example, if my girlfriend said to me, someone at work told me I've got to go scan my eye, like, why should I? I think it's very difficult right now to sell people on it, other than just you're getting a token distributed to you that has no actual utility or value right now, but may have. That feels very early crypto, doesn't it? Like very ICO.
I think their website in general is just full of, they either use obscure terms that people may not know about. Like, not everyone will know what UBI stands for. Like, universal basic income is a relatively new term in like common vernacular. But I mean, I'm just going through their white paper now, and the fact they call it proof of personhood is quite jarring.
The thing is, so I got stuck on that as well. Every time I actually can't remember the exact thing, but it was something like verifying humanist or humanism. Every time they said something like that, it was kind of jarring, like you say. But how are you meant to express that point without it sounding absolutely insane? Can you think of an alternative? Because I couldn't. I tried.
Not really, no. But they go on a bit further in their white paper saying, once a proof of personhood is issued, it should be person bound. Like,
Oh,
I guess that's technically a little better than soulbound, although
that's exactly what I thought as
they
well.
just wanted to avoid using that, I think.
ID,
but,
yeah, to exalt the game.
Yeah, but then saying, oh, it should be hard to sell or steal your personhood, like you get into verbal quicksand rather quickly. But I mean, it wasn't that many episodes ago where I think we wrapped up with a couple of like dystopian topics, and some have not so good intentions, i.e. that TV that I talked about, which is ridiculous. And then there's this one where it's very difficult to know what to think. It's like most new projects that are somewhat based in cryptocurrency or blockchain in any way. It's you're telling me what it's about and it sounds cool, but there's so much technical know-how and industry terminology and things that it's just very difficult for even me to understand. Like, I'm going through this white paper, I'm like, okay, I've read these words before, I get a general idea of what you're doing, but it's still I'm not to the level where I'm like, I fully understand this and I can trust it. It's I think I know what you're doing, but I'm not entirely sure. And
I don't think
little
we'll ever
red flags kind of sticking up, which is just. I'm not saying it's bad in any way or that you should avoid it like the plague. I mean, I literally just tried to. I think I've just showed my phone number. That's not great. But I literally just tried to show up for tried to sign up for a World ID now. I think that it's just saying that the service is too busy and to try again later, which I guess proves how popular it is at the moment. It's.
I'll give you a number on that, actually, the popular thing. So when I listened to a podcast that was recorded 5 days ago, and they said on that podcast that he said, how many users have you got? And I think he said there's 1.6 million people have already scanned.
Jeez.
When I signed up earlier, it's 2.1.
Wow.
So it's ramping pretty quickly.
Yeah. For a project that is based or has something to do with cryptocurrency, that is a huge amount of people onboarded very quickly. Threads hit 100 million users incredibly quickly, but I don't think I've opened Threads in about a week. There's no reason to use it right now. I think it'll get better in time, but anyway,
I think its user base go down 90% in immediately.
Well, there's nothing to do in it, and it doesn't have a web client. Like, the fact it doesn't have a web client blows my mind. I was
it's awful.
Trying to post. I was posting them to all my social medias yesterday, and I was like, oh, I've got a Threads account. How do I post it to that? Well, I've now got to airdrop this image to my iPhone and then manually post it.
It's really annoying.
Such a pain in the neck. But anyway, something else I saw on the website is you can become an orb operator.
I looked at this,
which the way they describe it makes it sound like Herbalife or any other of these. Hey, you can sell this to your friends and make
going door to door like Avon.
Literally word for word. As a WorldCoin operator, you'll earn money for everyone you sign up with an orb. You'll build your own team, run
MLM.
your operations, and help get people excited about starting their WorldCoin journey.
Very MLM, that is.
Yeah, it is a very MLM way of saying it. And of course, I've got pictures of smiley people holding orbs. We're like, scan your eye. It's...
I wish we did custom thumbnails for these episodes, because I could mid-journey someone being chased by an orb and get some clicks on it.
Well, I should do for the thumbnail of this episode. I'll just get an orb and just transpose it over both of our faces. Just have it pointed
scanning
towards
both of us as we're podding. So I have a few points. One positive, one negative. On this, it's really all I have left to discuss on it so far.
Sure.
So. On the positive side, let's start with the positive side. The gut reaction is scanning your eye, right? Nobody likes that. Now, and I think this is a completely fair justification. I think it was Sam that was saying the problem is, essentially the digital and the physical worlds. Digital is taking so much space up now. It's like taking over everything. We need something to bridge both, because we can't verify our digital identities properly. And this is a way of doing that. So I can understand that. Now, the scanning the iris thing, I wanted to think about that for a long time, and I spent a few days trying to figure out why is it so vile as a concept. Like, I'm pretty on board with World ID, and I find it uncomfortable.
Yep.
And honestly, I'm not that sure anymore, because so the first example I thought of is, how different is it to a criminal being fingerprinted or having their DNA swabs taken when, like, a suspect, even if it's not a criminal, a suspect being processed will have their DNA taken by force, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That should make us uncomfortable. But then you might say, wrongly, in my opinion, but you might say they're suspected of a crime, so they have to have it taken. But if the differentiator is choice, what about using your finger or your face to unlock your phone? Do you think that's that much different? Like, retina scans and scanning your face and scanning your finger is all scanning biometrics.
Yes.
And if you think, do you really trust that any device you use to scan your face is just keeping that data zero knowledge in your phone? Because I don't know that. I don't trust that that's definitely the case. I hope it is.
Yep.
So the more I kind of picked apart why it's uncomfortable, the more I started to find examples, and I imagine people were resistant to things like fingerprint unlocking your phone when that first came out. I imagine people were resistant to it. I don't remember anymore because it's so long. And the same with your face unlock of, like, the iPhone or whatever. So what do you make of that? Because basically the only reason they use the retinas is the unique identifiers. That's the only reason it's the retina and not the palm or the face. So what is it that makes you uncomfortable? Can you narrow it down?
I think it's more that it's such an unnatural form of biometric to be taken. Like, if you're, I don't know, high up in the military and you need iris scans to get through particular doors in a facility, it might be something that you're like, oh, well, I already use my iris as a security key to get into places, so, I mean, they might understand it a little more. But for the average person, your iris is not something that's used to verify you in everyday life.
So it's just familiarity.
I think it's familiarity. Like, I'm not sure exactly how Face Unlock works on iPhones. I think that's like facial structure rather than, which that almost seems a step removed. Like, rather than a biometric trait of mine, it's more mathematics, if that makes sense. It's like, is the pattern the camera is seeing the pattern it expects to see? Whereas a fingerprint or an iris scan or a palm print or whatever, that is physically a part of me. And again, WorldCoin say this will be on a decentralized database, whatever, but, in some form, you are giving a company a scan of your iris, that you're basically giving a company a part of you in a way, or sharing a part of you with a company, and then trusting that they have good intentions for that data or that information, I suppose. There's
definitely an element of trust. Like, we can't get away from that. Can I try and pick apart some of the other points? Because I've gone through these in my head as well. I've been arguing, I'm still arguing with myself over this. So firstly, the reason it's the retina is simply, it's more effective and it's more trustworthy than the facial recognition. As for the facial scans being just scanning patterns, I don't know if there's ostensibly any difference between what it's using infrared and stuff, and it's just scanning the patterns of your eye. But here's a counterpoint to that. If something's scanning your face, and let's say it leaked your face, someone could find you based on your face. No one's finding you based on the infrared scan of your iris.
That's very true.
So in a way, it's kind of like, what is someone going to do with it other than ironically, the only way it becomes dangerous, like your iris scan being leaked, is if your iris scan is useful, which is if this gets more successful.
That's
true.
So
there's kind of a circularity to it. But at the same time, so I'm picking apart your arguments because I have the same arguments, but I am also completely in agreement. There is something uncomfortable about going somewhere to have an orb scan my eyeball to prove I'm human. That sentence is insane.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you cut it up. That sentence is insane.
It is Orwellian. There's no way around saying it isn't this kind of 1984 dystopian hellscape come to reality, because it is. And I'm repeating, you have to trust that the team behind it and the operators and everyone involved in this has good intentions. And it's also the fact that, I mean, again, they claim it will be decentralized. It is not yet. That is a huge problem.
Yes.
But at least for now, you have to trust that this private company that has now gathered all of this data has good intentions for it. And as I've already said, I think the way they're marketing it, or just some of the wording that they're using, just doesn't help. I've kept reading through the white paper. There's sections where they're like, oh, well, you could use our proof of personhood iris scan in conjunction with a facial scan as like, this is definitely the person that it's supposed to be. I was like, well, that's too biometric. Are you now? Is there going to be something else in future where I need like my fingerprint or my palm print as well? Like, I get the point. There's, in a world where AI is developing very quickly, I suppose there is a need in a way to have a proof of humanity. Like, it's where I don't get that is I would understand the proof of humanity if we had what's that bot we saw in London, the humanoid robot thing.
Sophia.
Sophia, yeah. Like, if there were humanoids of Sophia's type walking around autonomously, and if you looked at a crowd of people and it was very difficult to distinguish from a distance who is human and who is robot, I could kind of understand a little more having a proof of human system. But where we're at now, I don't know.
So what you said is perfectly true, but in the digital sphere, that is exactly what it already is.
Yes, that is very true. But then again, WorldCoin or World ID or this system, for it to be useful in that sense, has to integrate with everything. Is it going to integrate with Twitter or X or with Facebook or LinkedIn or every other social media?
Needs your ID, right?
No, but Twitter in particular is a site that's had a lot of, there's been articles written about it, a lot of accusations that, there's so many bots on here, there's so many foreign governments using accounts to influence people. And in theory, something like World ID could solve that problem, but only if Twitter /X/ whatever you want to call it now, actually works together with WorldCoin. And that same problem exists on a lot of platforms.
True.
Even with video, in a sense now. I mean, we're already getting, I forget the name from like the kind of mo-capped anime character people online, but people use as like streaming avatars. We've got Hologram, which uses that for NFTs, although that's obviously not trying to impersonate a human. It's just like mo-capping an NFT character onto a human. But you see what I'm saying? With the progress of AI technology and the issues we already have with trying to judge who isn't a human online, it's such a mountain to climb. And if they're genuinely trying to solve that problem, then kudos to them. But this is like years and years and years of work. And supposedly they've been working on WorldCoin for about 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, we need another decade at least before some of the things that WorldCoin are proposing becomes something that's tangibly useful.
Yeah, well, I think as we said at the start of the episode, a lot of the problems are a way off, but we're already starting to see them. You mentioned streamers. A great example. Have you seen the XQC AI stream?
Yes.
I mean, that's absolutely insane. For anyone that doesn't know, XQC is one of the most successful streamers on Twitch of all time, and he has probably 1,000 plus, maybe 10,000 hours worth of VODs, like previous streams. And somebody used AI to go through all of that and then create new streams based on his past streams from, learning how he talks, how he moves, what he looks like during his streams. And then they did an AI version stream of him. It's almost indistinguishable.
Yes.
That's pretty scary.
It is scary. And
He found it funny.
he would find it funny, but
it
I
is
like
scary.
it is scary. And with the rising that, I mean, again, as I say, there is a need to be able to verify these sorts of things. I mean, there's numerous AI services out there now which will give you fairly realistic audio of any popular person saying anything you like. Like, there's ones for Donald Trump, there's ones for Formula One drivers I'm aware of, where you can just type like sentences you want them to say, and without knowing the audio cues to listen for, it's kind of believable what they're saying. I mean, I was watching a legal video he uploaded about a week or two ago about Donald Trump's deposition and all this stuff, and obviously the actual audio of what he said wasn't released at the time, but he said, oh, I've got a transcript, so I'm just going to use this AI tool to read it out in Donald Trump's voice. And it was incredibly, like, if he'd not said that beforehand, I would have thought, yeah, that's just a recording of him saying it. And again, it's part of it, oh, you're creating the problem that's like you're now trying to solve with the WorldCoin. Yeah. But I mean, it's...
You can clone your own voice.
Oh, yeah.
If you go on a website called 11 Labs, you can clone your own voice, and it's unbelievable.
The latest or the newest release of iOS, which comes out later this year, will do it.
Yeah. I can't remember what the purpose that they had a pretty good reason for doing it.
I think it was people that they might be losing their voice, or who's that actor who had I can't remember the name of that actor. Who was he basically had surgery and it kind of removed his voice box, so we couldn't really talk. So I mean, if something like this was around at the time, you could just input it with data. Oh, hey, I might not be able to talk in real life, but I can have a machine say things in my voice, which I mean, Apple in general is great with accessibility. They're just getting better. So, but again, it's this whole, could you, in theory, just hold a speaker up to your iPhone when that feature releases and just get an AI bot tool, whatever, to accurately replicate anybody's voice?
Well, I don't want to. I probably shouldn't say this while we're recording, but we have 100 hours worth of us talking, so anybody could clone us. Maybe the Mint 2 podcast, just an AI version of us talking about anything. So I want to do two as perhaps the last sort of thing we discuss.
Sure.
So I want to discuss one of the points you make about Sam Altman is essentially creating a solution to the problem he created.
Yes.
That is very funny, and I think it's also true. But AI was coming anyway. Like,
oh, that's true.
He had to. He probably. I haven't thought about this enough to say whether he has or not, but he had to create OpenAI. Somebody was creating OpenAI sooner or later. So perhaps, maybe it's a little bit flippant to say he's created the problem and then solved it. But it is also true, which is funny. But there is one, and this is under my criticism comment, there was one thing which you have to decide which way you want to go here. You may want to go skeptical. Here, I am on the fence. So he was with his co-founder, I can't remember the name, I think it's Alex something. He was on the Bankless podcast, which is all about crypto and banklessness, funnily enough. So on this, the host says to him, how are you integrating this with OpenAI and AI in general? And I thought, oh, that's a great question. Like, because surely his two startups, surely he's thought about how they merge in some way.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he was being evasive or if he was genuinely unsure of the answer. I find it hard to believe he hasn't thought about this. But basically, he said he's not sure how the two will connect yet and it's too far down the road. That came across disingenuous to me. And I feel like he's put a lot of thought into how they'll work together. He must have. That was one of my major criticisms coming away from this.
I would be incredibly surprised if he's not thought about that. I mean,
but then how do they interact?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
maybe I'm just not smart enough.
If there is any, or if there was any strong suggestion that the two companies would be working together, I think there would be a much bigger outcry about WorldCoin in general, because OpenAI company has side companies scanning people's irises, and they want the companies to intermingle. Like, that doesn't sound very privacy centric. Let's put it that way.
Well, what'll be funny is in the last episode is if you ask ChatGPT to verify on a website and then it tries to get a human to go scan their eye so that it can use the ID. That's where it's over. That's game over when that happens. Give the AI the nukes. We're done.
I mean, it's if we'd this time last year, if we said there were going to be devices placed around the world where you could scan your eye for some cryptocurrency, and it's going to be the side project, I guess, of a guy whose AI is taking over the world, you think, what in the hell has happened in the space of 12 months?
But this is why I don't like saying, I love the intro we did for this because it's so clickbait, where you said scanning your eye for crypto. But this is why I want to kind of separate the two technologies. Yeah. World ID I find useful. Issuing the token to people that sign up, I get they have to incentivize it. I just don't like the fact that people, some people are signing up so that they get these tokens and maybe the tokens will be worth something one day. I don't like that.
No.
That side of it makes it more creepy to me. I understand the need for World ID fully. I feel like I really, really do engage with that problem.
Yeah, I feel that part of that messaging and part of the reason it's marketed that way is just down to Sam's core beliefs. Like, he's very much a UBI believer. And he's also said in reference to AI in the past, like, AI will get rid of some jobs, but it will create others. And just going off his Wikipedia, again, it's Wikipedia, so you can take this quote with a pinch of salt. But he's quoted as saying, bear with me a second, I've completely lost it. Anyway, it was along the lines of, the prevalence of AI will allow people to choose whether or not they want to work or not. Which again is...
Yeah, that's UBI.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, AI in general, like, AI will give people the ability to choose whether or not they want to work or not because of how it will change working practices and things. And now WorldCoin has this bit on the website, so it's like, WorldCoin could in theory facilitate UBI. It's like, okay.
It feels like doing something this fundamental needs to be beyond bulletproof, because one minor fuck up and you're crushing the society as a whole just dies. Like you just ruined it.
We have, if you want to talk more widely about OpenAI, its initial funding came from Elon Musk, Amazon, Microsoft, Peter Thiel, Infosys, like a lot of the world's biggest personalities and companies in the tech space. So if you want to get, full on, conspiracy theory, then big
but they
techs
invest
come in to get us.
Don't they?
Yeah, they do. But it's one of those. To me, WorldCoin is one of those wait and sees. And I will create my account when it lets me, and I guess I'll track its progress. But it just goes to show that.
Rival.
I'm going to London in August, so genuinely, if I'm going to be in the area, I might as well. I'm going to have some free time, so
But I'm going to do it. I'm interested enough to see how it goes that I will do it. But the thing is, as we've said, you don't need to yet.
No, but it's one of
the need isn't quite there.
There is part of this. It's cryptocurrency. You've got to get in early.
Gosh, yeah, no. Get rid of the phone. But the problem is, they need you, even without the crypto side. They need you to adopt this, because they're trying to integrate it with wallets right now, and apparently they've already. It's basically just waiting to release. There's wallets that have integrated the World ID, so they need to onboard a lot of people. I mean, 2 million in a week, less than a week, 2.1 million.
That's a lot.
Pretty good. When there's not that many. Is there only 2 in the UK? Only 2 orbs in the UK?
Yes, they're just in London, both of them.
So it's quite hard to do it at the moment.
It is.
So, I mean, 2.1 million when it's that hard to do is really something.
That is good going. And wait, as I said, the last 12 months in the tech space in general has been crazy. And I think it's my reaction to this is more that, okay, I've just come around to the fact that AI is changing the world, and now you're telling me that, oh God, there's this thing that scans my eyes and it gives me crypto, and things are changing so quickly and at such a rapid rate, and these things like WorldCoin, which have been getting built in the background for years, are now coming to the fore, and it just feels like the world is changing so quickly.
It really does.
It is difficult to kind of assess it and get on top of it all in your head. And a lot of us are just along for the ride. And it's like, well, I don't have time to have a deep dive on whether it is good for my general privacy to be a part of this or not. It's like, get involved or you'll be left behind. It's like, okay, I guess I'll jump on board. So, but I with my hopeful hat in mind, the potential WorldCoin has is huge. Even if they can deliver on a percentage of what they claim to be working towards, then it will be something that is just game-changing. But it's difficult to... I mean, could it be the next Bitcoin? Could it be the next Ethereum? Who knows?
I definitely
at the moment, it just feels too much like, Shiba Coin too? Get on board. Yeah, exactly.
I think what they should do is they should attach that orb to drones and fly it to people. Fly it to anyone who wants it, and it hovers in front of you, scans around, and flies away. That's the future I want.
If they want fully... Well, hey, drone technology's been coming very far lately, so...
Exactly. I mean, I've got a drone, so Sam, if you're ever in London or you want to, test this, we can see if I can fly my drone around and scan people.
From a logistics point of view, it probably would be a lot quicker and a lot easier than having everyone physically go to one location.
Flying orbs coming to scan you. God,
recording everything they say.
I need to type that into Midjourney just to see what comes out.
I'm sure there's some amazing Midjourney images already out there. But there we go. WorldCoin. Dystopian hellscape or the future of finance? Who knows? We're only 2 days in, so it's far too early to tell. Before we wrap up this episode, I do want to very quickly touch on the Generation 4 Reddit avatars. Have you checked these out, Rob?
I have. Also, Stuck at 6 p.m. tagged me in a very, very cool one.
He's been obsessed with them.
It looks like a sort of watchmaker horology themed one. I haven't bought one. I do own some Reddit NFTs, but I haven't bought one.
The only reason I'm really bringing it up is they've collaborated with obviously a few NFT collections in the past, but this one did a collab with Cool Cats, and the description doesn't mention it being an NFT at all. It's like, we're a global character IP and storytelling brand. It's like, they do have one of the ex-heads of Disney on board, and they're going to be at Macy's parade later this year, and I think they are possibly further along, or more further along than anyone else I'm aware of for NFTs bringing into somewhat mainstream without people knowing that they're NFTs. So I'm keeping a close eye on that. But anyway, episode 73. Three. Episode 73 of the Main One podcast is in the airwaves. Rob, where can we find you?
You can find me at tokengamer.io for the latest blockchain gaming and generally gaming tech news, including AI and other dystopian techs being stuffed into our games for our funsies. You can find me on Twitter at tokengamernews. Find me everywhere. You know where to find me. And if you don't, well, that's your problem. So, John, where can people find you?
Before I go into that, I read earlier this week, you covered the McDonald's and Sandbox thing.
Yes, I covered that in a very tentative way. I didn't love it, and it felt a bit weird.
But they had to call it McNuggets Land, didn't they? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't a proud. I wanted to cover it because I feel like I've been documenting the Sandbox from the start. So I want to document all major landmarks for the Sandbox. But it was weird. It's also McDonald's Hong Kong, not McDonald's Worldwide, which we've talked about before, where companies say, we are partnered with Toyota. And then you look into it, it's like Toyota, one branch in the Seychelles or something like that. So anyway, yeah, I did.
So if you want to get your virtual McNuggets, then I guess you can head into the Sandbox. But anyway, for me, it's at NFTinsider_IO on our socials and NFTinsider.io for the latest blockchain gaming news and this podcast, calendars, all that kind of thing. For me personally, it's at Hydropowered, HYDROPWRD on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, other such social medias. Twitter is the best one. Say hello. That's pretty much it. Episode 73 is in the books. Thank you very much for watching. If you're on Apple or Spotify, a 5-star podcast review would be fantastic. And if you're listening on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know who you would like us to speak to next, or a topic you'd like us to discuss, or what your thoughts are on orbs scanning your eyes and giving you cryptocurrency. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We hope you tune in again next week.